Welcome back to another episode of I'm Really Into That Stuff. This is the podcast that features me, Jana Stern, psychic activator, energy healer, and astrologer, as I delve into deep conversations with different folks in the holistic and conscious industries about the many beliefs and practices of spirituality, mental health, and what it means to be a human who's into that stuff in the 2020s and beyond. I'm Really Into That Stuff is excited to tell you that we have won one of the top 10 Esoterica podcast spots on feedspot.com. Check out the whole list at blog.feedspot.com/esoterica_podcasts for the whole list. Thanks to our friends at FeedSpot for this incredible honor. Welcome back to another episode of I'm Really Into That Stuff. I'm your host, Jana Stern, and I am joined by the brilliant and magnificent Hoko, mystical as F. You are a self-made badass. You're a tarot reader, a spell worker, and I think you might be the meme queen on the internet. You are so many incredible things, and I'm so grateful that you're here. Please tell everybody a little bit about yourself and how you got into that stuff.
Awesome. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure. You are wonderful as well. So as far as like how I got here, I would definitely say that it started when I was a young girl. I can remember having like a bunch of astrology books. I could tell you everything about all the sun signs. I was into mythology. I had Greek mythology. I had Egyptian mythology. So I was always really interested in all, spiritual topics. It was very natural for me. I had like a little projector that would project the stars onto my ceiling. It was my favorite. I think as far as like even spell work, I had a little book. It was like a little tiny book of spells. And I remember there was this is specifically, I remember there was a spell to remove warts. And I know that sounds so funny, but my cousin had a wart on his hand, and we did this spell like with a potato, and we buried the potato. And I remember coming back to visit him, and he didn't have the wart. And I was like, whoa, okay, that was the number one memory I have, like starting out with spell.
How old were you?
I was probably like 8 or 9 years old.
Amazing. I love this.
So it was like ever since then, I knew that there was more to life. You know what I mean? I can remember having one really simple thought as well. A little bit older. I was a little bit older in my teenage years, and it was like, I thought it was so profound in the moment. But thinking back, it's like, that's so silly, of course. It's like, okay, when an animal, eats a plant, that animal passes that plant, and then that, excrement becomes food for the next plant, right? So there's like this beautiful cycle of energy and connectedness in the world. And I was like, so like, it's just been an ongoing journey for me.
Even shit has purpose.
No, really though. Yes, the interconnectedness. That's why I'm saying it sounded so funny, but like it was these thoughts that I would have, right? That like led me to where I am now for sure. I guess to where I am, I had to go through a lot of darkness. Was raised by a single mother, so I had a lot of freedom. I had a lack of support. I had a lot of chaos. I have Neptune and I have Uranus in my 4th house. So it's like growing up, it was very chaotic, unstable. The idea of family, I felt like I had family, but over the years they've just dissipated. They're all addicts, which I inherited that. Awesome. Thanks, guys. So I started doing drugs at a young age, like 14, 15. And I was hanging out with, the punk rock kids and the thugs, and I was even taken in by my friend's family. You know what I mean? So it's like, I've kind of always just been like a lone ranger doing my own thing. So in that darkness, I became homeless, which was very scary, experienced a lot of scary things. I went to rehab a couple times, and I had kids in my addiction and stuff like that. And they were definitely my reason to do better. So it's like, if it wasn't for them, I probably wouldn't be here now. So love my kids.
Love your kids too. Love your kids too. That's a big deal.
Yeah, it is a bit, it really is. I seriously, like, I would probably be in jail or something if it wasn't for them. But I went to rehab. I did the thing. I was there for 8 months in an in home military style rehab where we got up, we did our chores every day, we did our prayers, we did our groups. Oh my gosh. So I got out and I got my own spot, and I had just had my youngest. And I thought I was going to have this family life with his dad, and he ended up having a baby behind my back. And I didn't find out until she was 7 months pregnant. So this was like very, very traumatizing for me. Okay. So in this time, through the healing and through the trying to move on, my mom kept trying to give me a tarot deck. And I was like, no, I'm not, I don't know. I don't know how to do it. And she kept trying to push that on me. And it's so funny because they always say, like, let your first tarot deck be gifted to you, which I'm always advocating, like, buy your own tarot deck. If that's what you want, buy your own tarot deck. Don't wait for someone to give it to you. But it's funny because mine was given to me.
It was forced on you by your mother. It's amazing.
Everything is so divine. You look in retrospect and you're like, that happened for a reason. But again, through the pain came a lot of power. Like I said, it was devastating to think that you're going to have a family with somebody and then that's just completely crushed and ruined. So I got into tarot because I wanted to know answers. So I started doing little 3-card spreads for myself, and what I would do is pull 3 cards, really thinking about my question, and then I would just research them. And so I would start to use my intuition. I would do them for others, and they were just accurate. I would get a lot of good feedback, so it started to become like a natural thing for me. It's like I could sling them and tell you everything that the universe wants you to know. So it just it's like a reflex to me now. This was back in 2018, 2017, 2018. So I've been doing that. How long is that? 6, 7 years?
Yeah.
Yeah, I could do it in my sleep. Let's see. So as far as spell work, we could talk about spell work. In 2020, I remember this is when it got really like snowball for me, because I've always believed, like, I could put my will out there and create what I want to create, right? But I had a friend, he was super magical. He was just so magical. And what made him magical was that he could feel so much. I believe he was Leo and he had like so many Cancer placements, or he was a Cancer and he had like a Leo moon. I don't remember exactly, but I remember he was like so Cancerian. And so he was magical because he could feel all of the energies. And like I'm a believer that when you're doing spell work, you have to feel the outcome. You have to use your feelings to create, like, I don't even know how to explain it. You have to feel what you want, right?
Yeah, like the manifestation needs you to believe in it and like be it.
Right, exactly. You put yourself in that, and the feeling is what is so important. And I remember him teaching me that, and he was such a big piece in my life too, to where I am now, and I love him, love him.
He's a guide on the other side for you now.
No, I just don't talk to him anymore. We fell out. Feel like I was in a really bad space in my life where I was going through a lot of mental health things, and I was kind of a jerk. And it's an ongoing process for me to unlearn being, kind of in a grumpy energy. I just feel like all the trauma kind of makes you like cold sometimes, you know what I mean? And it's been, for me, like I said, I went through a lot of crap, so I'm unlearning all that and learning to be soft, you know what I mean? So he got to see kind of a worst part of me, which I feel bad. So we fell out, but he taught me so much. It's funny because actually the person that I'm with now, me and my friend, we did a spell to attract someone who was on my vibration, right? So I'm trying to heal from this crappy situation that happened to me. So we did an aura of attraction spell, and he brought in his deity, and we did the little spell. And I swear, 2 weeks later, I met the person that I'm with now to this day. We've been together for 4 years. So especially because I was so closed off previously to new people. I was so stuck on this one person who was just absolute garbage for me. You know what I mean? So the person I'm with now is an Aries sun with a Pisces Mercury, me, and he's an Aquarius moon. I'm a Gemini moon. So I feel like, we have tons in common. We get along great. We also butt heads, but okay, we're learning.
Yeah.
What do you expect with two Aries? You know what I mean? So that was a big part. He really taught me how to be in energy and how energy worked. So he's the one who taught me actually that when you're doing spell work, you want to get to the root of the issue. You don't want to just throw energetic ban on stuff. You know what I mean? You want to heal it so that it's long lasting results. Because if you don't, you're just forcing things that are not meant to work, right? And when you heal the root of the issue and you bring in love energy, then you get to bring new potentials, I feel. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So understanding all of that, understanding how energy works makes you a great spellcaster.
Mm.
And it's about knowing. I think a lot of people doubt themselves because they don't understand the power of, themselves.
Mm.
So when it's literally as simple as knowing, you know what I mean? Getting a little bit of education on how energy works. Speaking of that, there was also a book that really changed my life for anybody who's interested, in understanding, because energy is quantum physics, essentially,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
There's like this non-local domain that exists. And it's a book by Deepak Chopra called The Spontaneous Fulfillment of Desire. And he talks about how we have this non-local domain and everything's connected. And you can basically cut out like the lag time between what you want and it manifesting. And it all comes through understanding how energy works. So that is a really good one if you're trying to understand how it all works.
Yeah. Shout out to Deepak Chopra. I've worked with Deepak Chopra. He is brilliant in real life. Oh yeah. I did a project with him. Yeah, it was very cool. I did a project with a company called Peace Inside Live, and we did this big art exhibit called the Jomo Effect, and he and his team at Save a Love were involved, and I got to chat with him virtually and host him on a Twitter space. It was super cool, and he's a brilliant human. I think that he has the keys to the universe, and we're just meant to all follow him.
Yes. Oh, I couldn't agree more. He also has another wonderful book. It's the Book of Secrets too. Those two books really changed my life.
Cool. When you talk about spell work and you talk about getting to the root, can you share a little bit more about what you mean by that? Because I really want to have a deeper understanding, because it's easy to light candles and say, I have an intention, I want this thing to happen. But what do you mean by that?
I think a lot is psychological as well. I'm going to try to explain this the best that I can, but I
Hmm.
think psychology and energy go hand in hand. Because, for example, you want life, right? But you were traumatized as a kid and you were abandoned. So every time someone comes in to love you, you're going to already assume this person is going to abandon you because this is something that happened to you previously. And it's normal that we're human. This is what happens to us. You know what I mean? Our neural pathways get wired in a certain way to where, we give ourselves a little reward to think negatively. You know what I mean? So you have to really with yourself. And this is why whenever I'm with clients, I'm like, okay, so what do you feel I need to know about the situation? Do you think that you have any issues that affect, how you are now or what's going on? Because a lot of people don't think about this. A lot of us are not given the resources or the skills. We're not taught that trauma really affects us now. So for example, I'll be talking to a client or even with myself when I'm doing spell work. Why do I feel this way? Or more so, what's blocking me? You have to notice patterns. This is a big thing too. You have to notice triggers, patterns, you know what I mean? What blockages. So then you take those blockages and you sit there and you say, okay, it's okay that I feel this way, or it's okay that this happens to me, but I'm not in that space anymore. And if I want X, Y, and Z, then I have to release A, B, and C. You know what I mean? Like, I always imagine we all have a bubble we have a bubble that we fill with experiences, right? So like over time, even if we're not aware of it, our bubble becomes filled with, negative experiences. That's just part of it. So we
And
run out of
positive.
room in our bubble to fill. Right. So eventually we run out of room in our bubble for better experiences because they're filled up with like traumatic experiences, right? So then we have to acknowledge the trauma, the bad experiences, and we have to say, okay, you're no longer serving me. I heal from this. I move on, and it's never that simple. But the first step is highlighting it and realizing, hey, this doesn't serve me anymore. I'm in a better space now. That was the past. I need to move forward. And so when we release these things, it allows better experiences to come in. But we also have to believe for ourselves that we can have good experiences. And that's another thing. When I'm doing spell work for other people, I can, yes, remove blockages, I can bring potential, but it is up to them to act accordingly moving forward and also believe it for themselves. Because if they don't believe it for themselves, what I'm doing doesn't even matter. Realistically, I think a lot of people have a silly idea. I'm going to say silly, but it's not their fault. Again, society makes us think in a certain way. So people think, oh, she waves her magic wand and everything's going to be better. That is not how it works.
No,
You know
it's
what I
not
mean?
how
So
it
getting
works.
to the root of it, that's why I do a consultation. I want to say what's going on with you, what's going on with the other person if there is someone else involved. And that's another thing too, when doing love spell work, I don't ever force situations, because if we force a situation, it's not going to last. You know what I mean? If there's
Right.
things to be healed, it's not going to last. So I always like to say, give me whatever info you can give me, and then I can sit there and really I like to envision. And so I'll envision black sludge coming out of the bubble and gold light and that's just symbolic to me. And so in the visuals, I'm actually doing energy work.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Right. And when it comes to love spells, I know that, like even with any spell, with any person, with any individual outside of you, you only have so much control and so much that you can affect. But when it comes to two people, that's like a very difficult dynamic to navigate sometimes. And I know that you do it with like such gentleness. So it's funny to me that you're like, I'm learning how to be softer. And I'm like, babe, literally half your business is softening. Like half your business is being in that lovey space. So it's like normal for it to be harder for you personally because you do it all the time professionally. But I'd love for you to share a little bit about how, maybe some of the wins that you've seen in love spells and just what you've been noticing when it comes to, yeah, the balance of the dynamic of two different energies and what you can affect in that way.
Okay. So, as far as recent wins, I had someone, I'm thinking maybe it wouldn't be appropriate to put people's business
Okay.
out there. What do you think?
Yeah, so long as it's anonymous, I think you're okay. Like they'll know that it's them, but you know what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah.
So more recently, I had someone come to me and their significant other had just left them and the kids and went and cultivated a relationship with someone else. So I did work for them. And a lot of the time when people are telling me the situation, a lot of the time with people, it is pride, is ego, it is wanting to do whatever the heck they want to do. You know what I mean? So I think when I'm working with energy, especially if I already know that there's love and there's connection there, my intention is to remind the person that might be the one going astray, whatever, of the love that they have for this other person. And so it kind of it I don't force anything. I create environments for people to do what they want, but I put a little inspiration out there, if that makes sense. I'm trying to describe it, you know what I mean? But it's kind of like just a reminder or inspiration to, act accordingly, or, like I said, however they want to. But usually it's successful.
Yeah, what I'm hearing is like, I think we talked about this a little bit. we live in this world where trauma has happened to all of us. If you've like, even if you've only experienced traumatic television, you've been traumatized, or traumatic movies, you've been traumatized. And we have all this programming and conditioning to like avoid love, to feel less, especially as men, but even as women, to just like block it out. We live in lack, and we often make decisions like, I'm going to leave this person that I've created a family with because it's easier over here. And, or, you know, I don't want to deal with the drama, but the drama is actually where the healing is. And so it sounds like what you're doing is reminding these people like, hey, there's love here. And maybe if you focused on the love, you could have a loving experience.
Yes, there you go. Yes, that's exactly what it is. It's always that healing element.
Yeah.
Talking about healing, but you know, we don't want to slap a band-aid on something and say, okay, no, you go back, because then there's still these issues that are going to arise time and time again. Another recent experience was, hadn't heard from somebody that they, you know, were in love with for a year and a couple months, and I did some spell work for them, and then maybe like a week later they were like, oh my god, he contacted me. I'm like, oh wow, you know, that even for me sometimes I'm like, wow, you know, that is pretty crazy. One of my favorites actually recently, this is not a loved one, but somebody lost their cat, and their cat had been gone for 2 weeks. Okay, and she came to me, you know, very desperate. I was like, oh my gosh, you know, let's do this ASAP. And I kid you not, it was the very next day she messaged me and was like, my cat is back. I'm like, oh my God.
It's like that song. You know, the cat came back the very next day. The cat came back. We thought he was a goner, but the cat came back. Anyway, if you don't know the song, feel free to look it up.
I'm going to look it up, but that's exactly what it was. Yes. She was like, I thought somebody kidnapped my cat. And I'm just, you know, it's always awesome to hear stories like that, you know, not only because it validates what I do, but also because I'm literally helping people. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think that that's really where your passion is really in helping people. I wonder how, you know, when you're giving readings versus doing spell work, do you feel one helps more than another?
Not necessarily one more than the other. You know, they just help in different ways. Either one that I'm doing, I always like to include little gems of knowledge. You know what I mean? Like if I'm doing tarot, I always like to explain to people how the energy is working, or I like to tell them, you know, tarot is only reading current timelines, and timelines are always changing, always shifting, and you always have the power to take control. Because I think people get tarot readings and they're like, this is it, this is set in stone, this is my destiny. And I'm 100% like, no, you create what you want to happen.
Right.
You know what I mean? No matter what.
I know also that you make candles. Can you tell me a little bit about the magic that goes into that?
So it is very much like my own spell work. The process is similar in when I am like envisioning and charging them. It's very much like I'm doing like, you know, with someone's spell work. But I make them myself, and they come with their own intention. For people who want to do their spell work at home, these are my favorites. Okay,
So
can you tell why?
Yeah. These goddess
They're
bodies
just
are
so,
amazing.
and I love these ones too.
I love
These
that.
ones are so cool. So, like, for example, this would be a money magnet, and she's jade for obvious reasons. Maybe not so obvious, but jade is known to be like an abundant stone that brings in some luck and abundance. She's also got cinnamon with her. Cinnamon is one of the go-to for us, which is, you know, when it comes to abundance and, you know, money spells. These would be this one's kind of messed up. Okay, so go like that. This would be, I'm not, these were just for display, by the way. I don't sell them like this.
You should.
This would be a return. So, return to sender. This is funny, huh? This one is basically if you feel like people have been giving you the evil eye, or if you feel like you've been wronged, or it's just stagnant energy on you, this is to send all of that back. It comes with rosemary, copal, bay leaves. All of those are really good for like cleansing and protection and return to sender. So I love making candles. I don't know what it is. It's just the process. Like I put so much love into these. I just enjoy it. It's very meditative for me. But what I do is when they're done, I'll sit with them and I'll charge them with their specific intention, and I bless them, and then I send them to their forever home.
That's so cool. I love that so much. And I imagine that people can buy those on your website.
Yes.
Very
Yes.
cool. Very cool. I'd love it if you could tell me a little bit about how you got into creating memes and what it does for you, because really and truly, you are out here memeing like a badass. Like your account kills me every single day, and I know that it's a lot of work. So yeah, tell me a little bit about how it started and how it got to where it is, because it's growing, baby.
Okay. Yes, and I hope it never stops. For me, I think humor's always been a coping mechanism. Okay, so
Thanks,
humor is a
trauma.
big part. Right. But see, and I feel like it's also a good way to connect with people. So I think it all started there. You know, I wanted to convey messages because some are funny, some are insightful, you know, they all have their purpose. Some are strictly just silly, but some are like a message, you know what I mean? And I feel like humor is a really wonderful way to connect with people. It's very simple. There's not really much else to it. And I think humor can also help heal in a lot of ways. You know what I mean? Just from my experience personally, I love to laugh and I love to be silly. One thing about me is that I don't feel like I have to be serious to be professional. You know what I mean? I just feel like that. So for some people that might work, but for me, it's insincere. I feel like that's not me.
Agreed.
You know, to me, that would be being fake to protect,
Yeah.
you know, I'm so serious because that's not me.
No. Corporate Coco, it's not the way.
No.
Yeah. So how did you start
yeah.
making them?
This was, oh man, how did I start? Just kind of seeing what was trending, you know, what people are sharing, what they're laughing at, and kind of going off of those, but putting my own flavor to them. You know what I mean? And then it just doesn't stop from there. And then, you know, you'll be sitting there randomly and have this idea, and you're like, you have to stop everything in the meme. You know what I mean? I've slowed down a bit. You know, it comes and goes, it fluctuates.
Yeah.
So I don't feel like it is really demanding. You know, I think people don't understand that creating content really does. If you want to make good content, it takes brain power. It's not like you're just sitting there like, you know, putting random pictures on random words.
Yeah. And the ones that really hit, you know, it's like that old adage, like those who make it overnight, it takes years of effort. Like I know that some of the memes that you are creating are probably hours, if not days, of like thinking and writing and feeling and intuiting, and then what image and what does it go like. I always want to be an account that could do that, and I just don't have it in me. And even if I were to do it with AI, it wouldn't slap the way that yours do.
Right. AI is a whole nother thing. Don't get me started on AI.
Are you anti?
It just I am I anti? You know, it's kind of cool, but also it's just not human. That's the thing for me. I love everything natural. You know what I mean? I love everything that comes from nature, humanity, and I feel like this kind of dive into AI further disconnects us from humanity each and every day. That is my stance on that.
Yeah, I think at this time of its evolution, I agree with you that we are seeing a lot of dissonance. My prayer is that we don't make AI the creators of art and beauty. We make AI do the bullshit work so that we can create art and beauty. I think it's like a great tool, but I also think, I don't know, like I said, nothing is going to make us laugh as much as a real human, you know, with real human traumas and experiences and qualities and positive experiences. Like those are going to land a lot better than whatever AI is going to come up with, in my opinion.
No, I agree. Yeah, you say it a lot better than I can, but I'm feeling the same thing.
I love that. And then, how did it grow from where, I mean, your account is thriving. And yes, I hope that things continue to really, really, really expand for you. And I hope that you're casting a lot of spells for that every day because it should keep growing and you're always spreading such positive messages of like love and intention, and there's always fun astrology in there, fun memes about this and that. Like it's just such a beautiful follow. It's so, in a world where there's so much chaos and negative energy, I know I can always just lovingly scroll through your feed and find only good vibes, which I love. But yeah, how did it get from where it was to where it is?
Okay, so this is kind of funny. I have back in the MySpace days, I used to spam the heck out of my timeline. You remember bulletins?
Yeah.
I just post this most dumb bulletins, and I look back now because I'm like, you guys used to hate me for spamming the timeline. I get paid to spam the timeline, and I feel like it's very Gemini moon for me. Especially as conjunct my
Same.
MC. So it's like I'm doing exactly what I need to do. But I remember specifically one day when I was in the baby phase of my page.
Mm.
And I think when I'm thinking about this, because I lived with the Salvation Army. We had a handyman, and we lived right by the cemetery where Michael Jackson was buried. Okay, so he had his, I think it was like 10-year anniversary, death anniversary, and somehow my handyman got a hold of the roses that were given to Michael Jackson from people that loved him. Now, listen, in terms of energy, when you're a witch and you understand that thousands of people are pouring their heart and soul into these roses, love, all of this energy into these roses, I'm like, this is a gold mine of energy that I can utilize. I'm neither here nor there about Michael Jackson, but I knew the power that these roses had. So what I did was I took a bath in the rose petals and I prayed, for fame or for success. And then literally after that, my page blew up. I know it sounds silly, but it's so real life. I just realized those roses, and it was like hundreds of thousands of people started following me. After
You know,
that,
I've
it was like a snowball.
I've heard you tell this story, and the first time I thought that is incredible. And as you're telling it now, it's really hitting me how every single thing in physical reality is just imbued with energy, good, bad, and otherwise. And like these things that are so seemingly arbitrary, right? It's so simple to just be like, somebody left flowers on a grave, whatever. But like, to just see and to know, like as you say, as a witch, to know as somebody who's like connected to the earth and the energies of this planet and the messages that come to you, to know, oh, this is some magic. I'm gonna get into the tub right now. Here you go, rose petals. Let's go. Did you take photos when that day of the roses?
Didn't. Oh, I do actually. I think I have a picture of the roses somewhere in the depths of my phone, and I'll have to send it to you if I can find it.
I encourage you to share that image when the time is correct.
I will try to find that. Like, I'll try so hard. I'm like, I hope it's in there.
Okay. I hope it's in there too. We're gonna find it. I'm sending you the photo vibes.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. It's incredible to me, just to watch you connect in with your gift and to just boldly be like, listen, man, I've been wigging it. I've been figuring it out. I've been taking the steps and doing the things. And as the things happen, they just keep resonating. The more they resonate, the more they resonate. And just like watching the whole thing unfold, like I've been following you for a while and we've been friends for a bit. And like, it's nuts to me, the trajectory that you're on. And I love watching it. I really do.
In my mind, I don't see a full stop plateau. All I see, houser. So all I see is climb, 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 climb. Yeah, I just don't see it stopping. Ultimately, I think one day I want to own a physical shop.
Mm.
I want to. My thing is, in my life, my goals are very simple. I don't want to own a yacht. I don't want to, live this lavish lifestyle. I just want to have a home that I can pass on to my kids. So I never have to feel how I felt, so they never have to be homeless. You know what I mean? I want them to have a home, and then I want to have my own little shop, physical things, physical items, meet face to face with people and things like that. I feel like those are very simple, very humble goals, universe. If you're hearing me.
It's hearing you, babe. I feel like those things are so much closer than you think they are. And I think that, yeah, the more that you set things up so that your cup stays full, and, just value yourself, the more that you will find those things just sort of land in your lap. It's funny. I think those things will come to you in ways that are not traditional. I can feel that. Those things will be almost gifted to you. Not exactly, but I can feel it. You won't have to, sounds ridiculous, but I don't think you're going to have to work hard for your money. I think you're just going to have to keep existing as yourself for it.
Thank you. I claim that because it's interesting. I also feel that way. And the thing about this is that I feel like this is how it could be for anyone and everyone. You know what I mean? It's just a matter of kind of getting into that flow of
Yup.
the universe. And you know what I mean? I feel like for me, I'm here to literally just be an example that magic exists and anybody can tap into it. You know what I mean? Because I literally came from nothing and created this, and I'm like, anyone can do it. Hi, I'm here to show you that you can do it.
Yeah. 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 And that, like, if you stay lighthearted, but also address what's real, like acknowledge what's there, but stay lighthearted about it, that you really can transform whatever it is that you're processing into something that is completely radically different.
Alchemy.
Exactly. Exactly. Oh, talk to me a little bit about rest, because I know that you've been really trying to integrate rest into your practice. And I'd love for you to share just a little bit about why and what it even means to you and all of that stuff.
Okay, so for me personally, and I'm sure it happens to a lot of people just because of where we're at as a society in America in particular. Survival mode. Okay, so
Oh, Canada too, babe. We're Canada too. Global. We're all just fucking barely hanging on here.
this is a side note, but I feel like they've whoever they are, they've created it to be this way. We are literally like an energy source of stress for whoever runs the planet, but that's a whole other topic.
We could go there.
So rest for me, that'll be a whole nother show. I've been in survival mode. Recently, a homeopathic doctor, and I got, test results done, and like my adrenals were shot. And the only time I get to rest is like when I'm sick. The universe is like, sit down. So, so I'm trying to integrate rest more into my life for the sake of, my overall health. But one thing that my homeopathic doctor told me was like, okay, you can be sitting down on the couch and watching TV, but are you really resting? You know what I mean? You have to make a conscious effort to actually rest. So I've been learning like restorative poses. It's like where you lay with your legs up and it kind of resets your whole nervous system. Like it's a whole thing for me because I feel like somewhere in my mind, somewhere along all of the things that have happened, my mind is like, you need to be doing something all the time. And a lot of this anxiety, it's survival mode. You know what I mean? My body is just used to going until I'm literally like worn out. I think as a society, we don't honor rest enough. And again, it's that energy of like you can't pour from an empty cup. It's like I'm running dry because I'm going, and I don't have that chance to refill my cup. So even if it's like, even if it's something as simple as running yourself a bath and sitting in candlelight, or, taking a walk, whatever it is meditative for me, I try and do. Candle is very meditative for me, just little things so I don't lose my mind. And so I restore myself, especially because what I do is like you don't realize it in the moment when you're doing tarot readings and stuff, but at the end of the day, it's like my brain has no thoughts. And I'm like, okay, what do now? Okay, I just want to go to sleep.
Right, right. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing about energy work. And we talked a little bit about this before we hit record, but I believe, and I think you'll agree, that the new currency of the future will be our energy. And if you are working in energy work, then the value of that is way, 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 way higher than any number could be put upon it. And so if your energy is depleted, if you are feeling, and this goes for anybody, if you're feeling like you cannot function, or like at the end of the day, you just want to zone out because you've done too many things or it's too much to exist, then yeah, that like passive or even active, walking, whatever, resting, it's the way that we will sustain ourselves, because we move too fast. Society is moving too quickly. Technology moves too quickly. Everything is just go, 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 go. There's no stopping. And it's fascinating and beautiful for me to see somebody who is, on the trajectory that you're on, successful the ways that you're successful, being like, I'm actually going to be resting right now. My job forces me, needs me, requires me to rest as like part of my religion. You know what I mean? As part of my, and I think that that is imperative for anybody in the energetic world. I think it's also imperative for anybody who has trauma, intergenerational trauma, anybody who's experienced like a lot of push energy. That like ease is how we move from this like capitalistic, nightmare into whatever the next thing is, where energy is the currency. Do you know what I mean?
Yes. It reminds me, I do a specific spread. It's called the Mind, Body, and Soul Tarot card spread. And when I'm doing these, I notice for everybody that I do them for is if one is off balance, usually mind, then the rest get off balance. You know what I mean? If your mind is not feeling peace, at least a couple times a day, it trickles into your body, and then it trickles into your soul, where it's slowly chipping away at you as a whole. You know what I mean? And we don't realize it until it's too late and we're sick, or we just feel drained. We feel like we are a shell. So it all goes hand in hand. It's very interconnected.
Yeah. I wonder for you if doing sort of self spell work or reading your own cards, if that for you is rejuvenating at this stage of your career, or is it depleting for you? Because I find both for me sometimes. Like it's 50-50 these days.
Right, right. I don't know how to answer that. I think I don't really do either. I think a lot of the time I don't like to read for myself because I know that I'm putting my will into the cards. And so whatever I'm thinking, if I'm emotional in the moment, I know the cards are going to reflect that. So I'm like, it's not even worth it doing readings for myself. And then spell work, I don't even feel like it's necessary for myself to do spell work, because I understand that whatever I want or whatever I'm projecting, it's just going to kind of happen. So I don't necessarily do rituals for myself, but I will. Prayers are important. You know what I mean? I will light my deity and tell her thank you. And I already feel like she knows what I want. So me just giving gratitude to her kind of orchestrates the rest.
Do you have a desire to share who she is and what her like meaning is to you?
Yes, definitely. I love her. So and I sound so funny saying it, but she's Santa Muerte. So I'm aware that if I want to set my intention to the universe, all I have to do is ask. And there was a point in my life where I was like, hey, I'm ready to find out who my guide is now. And this was back in 2020 with that friend that I was telling you about. Love him. I will just always say I love him. He was doing some work for me protection work. And he was like, I was working with Santa Muerte and I feel like she's calling to you. You know what I mean? So I was like, okay, interesting. So of course, she is very feared, and I think a lot of it is misinformation, although she is very powerful and you don't want to fuck with her, excuse my language. But a lot of people are her, so there's a lot of information about her. So I wanted to do my own research, and I did lots of research, and I found out a lot of her miracles were relevant to my own life. She helps people who have been, she helps the underdogs of society. She helps the homeless people. She helps, prostitutes. She helps babies be born into this world safely. I didn't mention previously, but I'm a victim of human trafficking. Obviously survived that. And then my son, this is my favorite story to tell. My son was actually born 2 weeks late, emergency C-section on her unofficial holiday, Day of the Dead, with his cord wrapped around his neck, and we almost lost him, okay? So to me, I just feel like she's been in my life the whole time, and it was just a matter of me asking for her, to reveal herself to me. So I just feel like there's an unbreakable connection between her and I, and a lot of people will be like, well, that's not your culture, da, da, da. And I completely understand. It, but I was also brought up, my hometown is, 70% Hispanic Latino. So this culture was heavily around me my entire life. I was basically taken in by a beautiful Mexican family when I was in my teenage years. Like my family, they call me mija. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's always been around me. So yeah, I don't know. To me, she's like a mother. And whenever I'm talking to her, I always want to cry. I always feel happiness and tears of joy. You know what I mean? And that's how I know, like, it's my connection with her, I feel, is very profound. So
it's beautiful.
I'm always down to spread the gospel of Santa Muerte. So
it's funny. I think two things. One, I think that death is an important part of existence, and I think we relate to it badly as a society. Even my tank top, like, I know I get looks, and we all die, every single one of us. We're all going to go there eventually. It's the only guarantee in life, is that we will all not survive it. And I think that the way that we relate to it and even worship it is backwards. So I definitely understand that. And I love that about the Mexican culture, or this, is that there is this like beautiful relationship with death, and that everything is going to die and it's totally okay. And I think in regards to, finding guides that are with you and that show themselves to you. My belief is that so long as you are showing deep respect for the culture and in some way paying back the culture, whether that's like, donating something every year or whatever it is, in whatever way, maybe, you give readings to whatever people in Mexico for just whatever. I think so long as you're doing those types of things, it's good. Yeah.
Right. So I always prefer to, support street vendors. Always, whenever I buy flowers for her, I like to buy flowers from the street vendors, or when I'm buying offerings from her, like the fruits and the tacos and things like that. So I've heard that's what she prefers, which makes sense.
Of course, because she's for the underdog, right? She's like, don't go to the big corporate Taco Bell, go to the guy who makes it traditionally in his van. Yeah, I agree with you. I think they're such important practices. I think that energetically, when you align with any deity, I think that is something that deserves a particular amount of energy put towards it. And then, how it reciprocates with your energy. I think if you give light, you get light. I just believe that. And, anybody who wants to come for me in the comments, go ahead. But yeah, I feel like I'm with you. I think that if something calls to you, whatever it may be, and I also think that we go through phases and stages. And I think that many of us have had experiences as in spirit showing up, and you and I have talked about this, showing up in other people's energy fields when they are incarnated, and that can have an effect on your life in this body, right? Or we can call those past lives. But yeah, I think that has an effect on how your life shows up in this way. So who knows whether or not you've, made effect in their culture and now they're affecting yours,
I mean, yeah, it was just, like I said, I grew up in a place where it was like I don't know how do I. It's like I didn't feel like I was like a Caucasian girl. You know what I mean? It was like, I was, yeah.
I think also when we were younger, the words around that were different. The language around all of it was very different. And if you grew up non-traditionally, which you did, you didn't grow up around only a lot of, other Caucasian people, like had a different life. And so, yeah, I think, plays a role in how you relate to other cultures. I think being a cultured person means that other cultures will find you. I just believe that. So, yeah. Right? Exactly. And I think that flavor of a little bit of everything shows up. I think it shows up in your magic. I think it shows up in your memes. I think it shows up just like in who you are, that you're not just this like one thing, that you're very, very multifaceted. That's a Gemini moon for you, right? We got that in common, Gemini moon.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
And mine is in the ninth house as well, so.
Yours is which?
I got all the flavors. Mine's in the ninth house as well.
Cool. That's where my Aries and my Venus and Mars and Lilith, they all hang out in the ninth. So I feel you, babe.
I love ninth house things.
I don't know if I do. I'll get back to you.
Okay.
There's challenge, but there's also beauty. I think I'm learning to work with that ninth house energy. It's very, very potent for me. And like I said, it is an Aries. So it's a very intense place to have all of that energy, right? And Venus is in deficit there. It's tricky, and they're all at the 19th degree, all of them. So it's just like a big punch of love, I guess. Yeah.
Have you and like traveled across the country, because it's giving that vibe?
We're on the mission. We're on the mission. We're on the mission of needing to just get out from where I am and get someplace else, because maybe it will bring more like oxygen to the fire, or just a little bit more, just sort of like less smokiness. There's a lot of smokiness right now, a lot of congestion in those places, in this physical location. And I'm on a line right now that's not good in my astrocartography. So
I'm on my Pluto line and in the 8th house, and there's been 2 fires that just burst out like right in front of my house, and I'm like, I need to get out of where I am.
Yeah, it's time to move, babe. Time to go. 2 fires is plenty. 3rd is not the charm. Get out. Leave.
Especially on the Pluto line.
Yeah, that Pluto line is no joke. When I look at my astrocartography, I'm like, absolute no's. Thank you so much. I think I'm good on the karmic experiences. Thank you. Coco, this has been so lovely. It's been so wonderful to connect with you and to spend time. Thank you so much. Can you please share with everybody where they can find you and how they can support you in your business?
So honestly, you could just show up and, interact with me. Any support, really, I just love for people to be in my space. You know what I mean? That's all that matters. I'm on Instagram and I'm on Facebook, both Mystical ASF. So yeah, not going anywhere.
Amazing. I love it. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you to all of our listeners for tuning in to another episode of I'm Really Into That Stuff. We'll be back in another couple of weeks with another episode for you. Take care of yourselves. Thanks for listening to another episode of I'm Really Into That Stuff. You can follow along with us on Instagram at I'm Really Into That Stuff, or on Twitter at That Stuff Pod. And be sure to rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast. If this episode resonated with you and something that you're really into, share it with someone you love. Sending you strength, peace, love, and light until our next episode.